All right, so we're back, about a week on time, or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a new week, and there's still more shit to cover than we're probably going to be able to. But we're going to start with some real shitty shit. So, I don't know if everybody's aware, but we do have a commie that's running in the Fed. What's this chick's name? Omarova. She's wanting to put all bank deposits into a thing called a quote unquote Fed account, and it's a shall we say an alternative to a bank deposit account. It's initially intended to be available on your request, so that basically your money is here. It's available everywhere that you might want to move it because, it's federally backed up. But this kind of plays out down the line into a completely fiat. Well, the system's obviously already fiat, but it fiats even your savings and makes it into essentially just a government asset that can be accessed, moved, or
Yeah, but that's all dollars.
it
I'm
is.
gonna dispute that as all dollars are government assets in that sense. I mean, they come out of the Fed, but I mean,
Mind you,
let's
the
be
Fed
honest
is as
there about
federal
how
as
that
Federal
works.
Express, but yeah.
Yeah, it is as federal as Federal Express. That is fair enough. It is a private entity. It is the national bank as a private national bank. But the government basically gets to fuck with it at their leisure
Oh yeah.
already.
Oh, indeed
Like
they do.
it's if you ever have like the FDIC, for example, never should have happened because that allowed banks to do extraordinarily stupid shit like lose all your money and then have the government pay for it, which
Oh,
means you're paying for it again.
they're too big to fail, Craig. Come on now.
Well, so again, when the government pays for something, you are paying for it. The government does not get money out of thin air unless it begs the Fed to print it, which means it is still coming out of your pocket because then your money is worth less. So it doesn't matter if the government directly fucks with it and just takes your money out individually, which the IRS can do at will already, by the way. They can just put a garnish order in and your money's gone.
Well, true.
Uh,
And I mean, the last time they tried something like this was with gold, and everything that had non numismatic value was seized.
right.
So, I mean, it's not like it's outside of their power or something that they can't do. It's just that they're kind of codifying it, and that terrifies me to a degree.
Yeah, but I mean, the stuff with gold was all codified too. So, I mean, I was
And
seeing, like,
and it's
it was all legal
terrifying,
at the end of the day. It was all legal at the end of the day.
and no less terrifying. I mean, really, yeah, we should have never left the gold standard. But that's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation. Oh, and unfortunately, we will be missing our good man Steve. He is down for the count for the moment, so wish him well and such. He's trying to find the Sinovax, poor man. So hey, if you know anywhere to find a vaccine that's actually a vaccine, let us know. We'll get the info onto him.
Oh, good fucking grief to both of you guys with that shit.
What? It's
I didn't say
not.
anything last. I said as little as possible in the last episode because he was clearly dealing with it.
Well, he's not
So,
here now,
and I
so say
got,
your piece, sir.
and I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna sit there and just like shit on him for being upset that he has to get it. Like, that's the fundamental thing that he and I agree on here is that you should not be forced to do anything with your body that you don't want to do when it comes to medical issues.
Yeah, I
You
mean
should be talking to your doctor and dealing with your doctor only. And
yeah,
if
I mean
his
it's
risk is
fundamentally
so
wrong.
low, and if his risk is so fucking low, and it probably is given his job and his personality, that one you can take a couple different ways.
Yeah, as you will.
Uh, but no, like his risk is, we both do risk assessments at certain points in the day. His risk is legitimately lower than mine in general, and if it's truly as low as he considers it to be, then it is up to him and his doctor, regardless of what I think. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just up to him, or it should be. And the thing is, the way that they're doing the contract switcheroo on him, it really isn't one of those things where it's like, oh well, it was his choice to work there. It's well, they switched the contract out from under his feet and fucked him on it.
Yeah, they're
That
they're
wasn't the
trying to
thing where it
renege
was
on the
his
contract
choice.
entirely.
The his choice part later on will be that he can choose to leave work. Fine, it's a free country and all, But with this mandate nonsense, the OSHA rule, he has a point there when it comes to the emergency rule changes. They have basic requirements, and again, the acceptable level of risk in society is actually quite high,
Oh, well, I mean,
relatively speaking.
specifically, even his field, which is actually really kind of the best example.
Like a one in 1,000 chance of getting cancer from doing your job later on in life. That means that keep in mind that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is not a small organization. The nuclear energy sector in the country is not a small energy sector. It's relatively small compared to the rest of the energy that we
I
derive,
mean, it should be a
but
large
it's not
sector,
like
but
it's
it isn't.
but it's not like it's some tiny podunk thing. There are a lot of people that work in nuclear energy, certainly more than 1,000. So you're talking about multiple people who are via the logic involved, via these. So you're talking about multiple people that are expected to get cancer from doing their jobs due to radiation exposure some point in their life
Essentially, as a
down the
given,
line.
just this is just a part
That's
of the
that's
thing
the
that's going to happen. It's part of the math.
yeah,
It's built
that's
into the
the
cost.
statistics. That is the statistics of the situation. Is that given the background exposure they're getting from doing their job with the radiation at hand, those in certain positions, such as his, are expected, as in the statistical mean, the average, to get cancer later on, about 1 in 1,000. So there are expected risks, there are acceptable risks. Um, we work tirelessly in engineering and science to minimize these kind of risks in the job sites and for society at large via policy and inherently safe design. But there are limits to which these expectations can be met. These expectations being the aspirational ones, not the 1 in 1,000 variety. There are limits to which the safety can be pushed before you run into fundamental um, conflicts with things like people's rights when it comes to policy and cost when it comes to products and designs. Sometimes, like there's only so much bubble wrap you can put around a McDonald's coffee. That's kind of what it boils down to. At some point you got to drink the stuff.
Oh, sure.
So, and the worst thing is as the event that'll touch on in people's memory. Unfortunately, that woman really did get truly scalded. That was a really hot cup of coffee. Like it
Oh
was,
yeah, no, she was badly burned, like second
it
degree
was
burns.
the McDonald's PR firm did a very good job of making her seem like a fucking idiot, and when it was really the person behind the counter who was. I mean, it was
Now the
boiling
second
hot water
case that came
in a
up
thin cup.
that
Yeah,
somebody just kind of intentionally did it, well, she got a much different result.
yeah.
She ended up the second lady that did that more intentionally. She ended up having higher legal bills than her payout at the end of the day. So she ended up owing something around $120,000 despite
Holy shit.
getting like a giant payout because she was fighting McDonald's.
Yeah, that is not a small chunk of change.
No, I could be off. I'm thinking either I could be thinking of some other things that currently relate to my own family
Yeah.
and somebody with $120,000 in debt that thankfully is unrelated. We can go over that some other time off air because it's a shit show. But anyway, speaking of shit shows, and we already dropped in with one. We've got
Hmm.
we've got Twitter. I've got some news. I hope nobody
I
who's
think I know what it is.
deeply invested in Twitter. We don't give out a lot of stock tips here, but you'll notice we never really gave one out for Twitter. They've posted a $536 million loss in third quarter over their
And you
lawsuit
know why?
payouts.
It, here's the fun part. You know why they did that? Why they posted that bit of a dip?
Pray tell, sir.
Oh, they got caught in the legal net when they lied to their investors about how well they were doing.
Oops.
How how funny is that? How they lied about how well they're doing, and now they can't lie about how shitty they're doing.
Yeah.
Especially because it's part of a public court document.
Oh, speaking of shitty lies, did you hear that Facebook is now Meta?
I heard Facebook was now Cyberdyne Industries or something like that, or maybe Umbrella Corp.
Really? I thought they were Whalen Utani.
Ah, okay.
Well, you know.
I
Anyway.
saw I saw some of those go out.
Did you see the lizard that addressed the UN just a few days ago?
I saw I saw a lot of beige stuff inside of someone's house, and that yeah, I did see that. You mean Jack Black's latest catastrophe? That poor guy needs to like go back to School of Rock or something because that was actually a good movie, whereas the one he did for the UN
Well,
sucked.
he needs to make intentional comedy as opposed to unintentional comedy, you know?
Well, you know, he might have actually been lampooning them because reading from the script as he did so intensely and so convincingly that he really did believe in the statements, like that's like funding or research or whatever the hell it is, meteors impacting planets. Like the funny thing is that, like much of the way that people are trying to solve global warming via taxation, that would have done absolutely nothing to solve the problem at hand or make it worse. It literally would have done nothing in either direction, considering it would have just wasted money, which is oddly enough exactly what we're doing when it comes to climate change and it comes to this bullshit. If you want to look at things like supposing you take all of the arguments gratis from climate change activists when it comes
Sure.
to the environment and so on, and
Yeah.
let's not even go to the crazy extremes here. Let's just say the core run-of-the-mill shit that follows exactly out of the policy briefings you find at the beginning of IPCC Working Group 2 and 3 reports. Let
Yeah,
alone
without
so the preface,
yeah,
just the
without
preface to Working
without
Group 1
digging
then.
in too deeply to him, mind, because when
Yeah,
we do that,
right.
things get
No,
complicated. So,
executive summaries, and we're not even going to go through all the details of. Let's say you take it as gratis that there are problems, humans are causing them, humans can fix them by doing certain things. Let's look at what we've done so far and look at who's doing it. The United States is doing a fantastic job of meeting its own standards via the Paris Accords, which is just a loosely stapled together collection of false promises by countries that don't give a shit.
never mind the otherwise everyone thought it was completely unfucking doable Kyoto protocols.
I mean, let's look at it in this framework. The United States has met their goals. We've exceeded our goals for the Paris Accords. We're doing better than everyone else in that regard. We set the most stringent goals and we met them. We're doing better in that regard than anybody else. We don't need the Paris Accord for us to do that. We didn't need it in the first. If it's non-binding, if you don't match, like if you don't meet your goals, nothing happens except for a little bit of bad press. And then at that point, the country can just say that most other countries that are involved, which are fascistic in nature, say Russia and China, can just say, okay, activists don't exist anymore, and then they're all gone. They get to enjoy some re-education and making some of your T-shirts, or your iPhones, depending on exactly where in Xinjiang they're located. Like
Right.
China's non-binding goal, mind you, their paper in the pile said that they would stop increasing their rate of the rate of CO2 production by 2030 or whatever the hell it was. The year
Yeah.
is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is they said, oh, we will promise to stop accelerating our CO2 production. Like,
At
it
the
just
beginning of the next decade.
that was their promise. The United States said, we're going to cut this stuff off. We're going to lower it. We did. We met the rates at which it was recommended to lower it too by the UN, etc. So when it comes to people doing stuff about this, we're doing it.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, we did things that were. Well, we've actually talked a little bit about it before.
It
We've
has
done
hurt
things
our
that were
economy.
thought to be impossible.
We've
Like,
done things that
like
we thought to be
we
impossible, and we
beat
also
numbers that people said you can't do that. The same people that said that New York would be sunken underneath the waves are the same
Oh
ones
yeah.
that were saying those numbers are not reachable. Well,
So
motherfucker,
so
New York
here's
is still there and we beat the fucking Kyoto protocols. What now?
so it's worth pointing out right now, and I know that there was a range to the predictions made, but let's go ahead and be realistic about which ones he was harping on. None of Al Gore's predictions came true. Not a fucking one. By 2010, Florida was supposed to be 10 feet underwater. It didn't happen. New York was supposed to be underwater. LA was supposed to be wiped off the map. Didn't happen. The guy still flies around in private jets and still has his McMansions with way too much fucking electricity going through them. He says he put solar panels on to offset that a little bit. Nowhere near enough square footage on the roof to cover that. Not even a little bit.
Never
All
mind
he did was all
what it
he did
takes to
was
make a
back the
solar
solar.
panel.
All he did was back the solar companies that he invested in, and he used his house as a marketing piece for it. So it is that cynical. Obama bought himself some Miami Beach property. He's not planning on Miami Beach going away anytime soon. He is planning on getting that investment back. Martha's Vineyard, he has a place there. These are all places that are supposed to be underwater in your lifetime, supposedly.
Yeah. Isn't that peculiar?
And if I mean, put it like this, they're making investments that make no sense to make because the property value would immediately go away once the fear of such a loss in property value showed up on their shores. So once the Miami beachfront property loses its property value because it's all going to be underwater within a certain amount of time, and everyone panic sells and the price just plummets, that means it would be a major loss of an investment for them. These aren't people who are going to be handing out $100,000 on a virtue signal on beachfront property, or let put that at better scale, like tens of millions of dollars.
Well, that too. And, you don't really. Real estate isn't exactly a pump and dump kind of region. Real estate's something you
Well,
buy to have.
unless you're unless you're BlackRock.
Unless you're BlackRock. Yes, that's fair.
Let's continue to be fair about this. A lot of these higher priced properties, California is horrible for this, especially in Silicon Valley. Uh, House flipping is a big industry, and it inflates the market price. It inflates the market quite a bit. It is not the reason we had the housing crisis before. That was bad investments turned into worse investments. Um, but on the smaller scale, it will increase prices of housing year over year and build a bubble, 10-20% at a time, uh, just from people flipping houses. And while that can build property value depending on how they handle flipping a house, if they build a new house, for example, that might be adding property value. If they bring a house up to code, that's adding property value. But at the same time, they're going to have a margin in there that's going to keep them afloat financially. So house flippers do make bank on that. They aren't just real estate agents out there doing that stuff. If there's also people who do it professionally, like that's just their thing. So the higher priced areas where there's a little bit more motion among those properties for financial gain, you're going to find that at the you know in the stock parlance at the retail level, you're talking about having a place to live. But certainly there is a market where it is more of a rapid turnaround than you expect. Not in like minutely time frame, obviously, but like on an annual time frame or on a monthly time frame. It's like between half a year and a year, you might be buying a house, fixing it up, closing it out on a sale
Well, I guess
to
that's going to be more market
make more
specific
commission.
than, or
Right.
well,
Like I
market.
said, it depends on the price range,
Well, yeah,
really.
that's going to be kind of regional market specific as opposed to
Yeah,
anything else.
it's not a national market for the most part. There are when you get to the ridiculous properties like Malibu and Martha's Vineyard, those are niche but also national because it's a priced market more than it is a landlocked market. But still, suffice to say here that there other kinds of land investments are going to be more longer term, and if you're buying a house on Miami Beach, you're probably looking to keep it for a while to make money off it at the end, if not to enjoy just the luxurious lifestyle you get when you have that kind of stupid amounts of money. So the fact that they have beachfront property anywhere kind of tells you already that they're not planning on losing it, because it will immediately puncture that bubble as soon as the fear of the the drop in price shows up. Panic selling will hit that market. The ocean rise has been consistent for decades because it's a long term phenomenon. Um, it's not very much. The
Yeah.
difference between the housing line and the shoreline is already significant to the point that we're in the vast majority of coasts in the United States, let alone in most of the Western or first world economies. Like your height differential there is already sufficient, and also let's not forget that on the period of decades, houses can and will move and be rebuilt. Hotels might not, but hotels are already far enough away from the coast where they're, for the most part, protected, and they also have the kind of capital required to save those kind of buildings should they need to. But again, like humans can adapt. This kind of sea level rise that is being threatened with doesn't happen on a 1 decade scale like Al Gore suggested, or a 2 decade scale like Al Gore suggested then a few years later.
Well, as we know,
Like,
it's not 2 decades. Greta Thunberg has told us that it's 12
oh,
years.
it's I thought it was 18 months. All right,
Oh,
no, that was to save us in 12 years.
oh, I thought it was. I thought it was that we had
But that's
18.
already passed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was like 3 years ago we had 18 months until it was no longer able to be stopped, and so we're now in the it can no longer be stopped, so there's no
Well, I
point
think
in caring
it was
anymore.
18 months. It was 18 months until the midterms, and then it was a whole 2 years until the election for president again.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm guessing that in about 18 months we're gonna start seeing some problems.
Or would
Oh, no, that'd be after the election. It's about a year.
hear me out. 2 more weeks.
I mean, no, no. You see, that's when we have to lock down to prevent everybody from getting smog syphilis or something.
No, no, no. That's 15 days.
Oh, God.
We've got so many numbers to keep track of.
I know we've got a lot of layers for this one too.
Oh, we certainly do. Oh, speaking of layers, did you hear
You're
that
welcome.
the National School Board Association? I mean, everybody's heard, obviously, that
Oh,
Merrick
you mean
Garland.
them bitching out and apologizing?
Yeah, indeed they
Those
did.
pussies?
Indeed they did. The National School Board Association, they have completely disavowed the letter that they sent to Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Yeah, they disavowed their letter.
Yeah, the one that they
How
sent.
about that?
The one that they sent, that letter, mind you, by mail, apparently, that they sent
Yeah.
to the Attorney General, that was then forwarded to the President and acted on inside of 3 days. So a
Yep.
letter with a stamp on it got from its destination to the President's desk and back down to Merrick Garland's desk and then on down to the staff inside of 3 days. Isn't that interesting? Well, anyway, this letter that was so quickly received and acted upon, well, they've completely disavowed it. And now the interesting part of that is, of course, the disavowal, obviously. But there's an interesting follow up. You see, Mr. Garland, he was questioned, as a matter of fact, just today and yesterday, and he was asked about this. And his reply was rather non-committal, but the gist of it was basically, yes, yes, yeah, we realize that they have sent us that letter and that they have disavowed it. We have no intention of making any change of plans. To paraphrase. So basically,
Yeah.
everything that they were going to do, they're still going to do. It's just,
Well, of course.
it's
Now
just
the school
now
board
they
thinks it
don't
looks
have the
better.
backing of their beard, as it were.
Well, the school board, I'm sure, thinks it looks better now, and hopefully that'll assuage some of the
Not all
oh
that
so
much
happy parents.
because we've got two school boards that have actually left since then. I believe, was it Louisiana that left first, or was it Ohio that left first?
So these school boards, um, I think of school boards the same way I think of any other piece of government when it comes to this kind of shit. Term limits. Period.
Indeed.
You shouldn't get like I think that from school board up to president, you shouldn't get 10 years and more than 10 years of service at this point. There's no fucking reason to have someone in a career politician in that long. Some people, like Ted Cruz, take that long to figure out how to not be a piece of shit. I'll grant you that. But he only did that by figuring out that being a piece of shit wasn't getting him elected very easily
Oh my!
in
By
his
the
state
by,
anymore.
I was mistaken. It is not Louisiana. It's three though. Ohio, Missouri,
Uh,
and Pennsylvania have terminated their membership with the National School Board Association.
Good.
More,
Fuck it.
keep it coming. These are amateur numbers, folks. Amateur numbers. We can do better.
Gotta pump those numbers up, buddy.
We've got to do it. We've got to do it.
I still think like so. I'm not as I wouldn't jump into homeschooling as readily as an advice tip. I mean, I've said it in the past that you should do it, and I'll say it again. You should do it if you can.
And you should now. There's
It's your
something
kids.
that we can actually, I think, both of us agree on. Look and
Uh-huh.
see if you have local homeschooling groups, because if you
Yeah.
do, that's a great place to put your money, and you'll be able to be friends with your teachers. They're going to be your neighbors. They're going to be folks you know. They're
Yeah.
going to be folks you know from your church, your synagogue, your whatever.
Well, be fair, your mosque
Eh,
or your hut.
or your yurt, I guess.
Or your Korean Baptist.
Yeah, or your Korean cartoon posting image forum meetup group, whatever whoever it might
go
happen
down
to be.
that road. I know where it ends, and it's the weird part of YouTube. That's the euphemism I'm using, and I'm sticking with it.
YouTube. That's right. That's right.
No. The weird part. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, sure. And just as a reminder, the folks that hang out in the weird parts, you'll never get your $20 back. It's gone forever. That's a deep cut. If you get it, bravo. And it is. It really is a deep cut. You're never getting your fucking $20 back. Deal with it, bitches. Okay, I am not taking that right now. Because we're recording. Let me just turn that guy off. There we go. Okie dokie.
Right.
So, anywho, we've got some other interesting. Shit, we've got so much news to go over.
Well, how many items we got roughly?
I mean, really, kind of infinite if we wanted to go over everything, but there's just a couple specific ones I've really.
Well, I was just trying to say, like, you've got 40 minutes or so left here.
Yeah, no. I was actually
Well, I
going
was
to
just
touch
gonna say,
back on
we
the.
could like say, we could say like, all right, let's chunk out like I don't know 10 minutes for some rapid fire shit or whatever. However you want to do it.
Well, we'll just go over it and see if we have time to go over more. Because if not, that just leaves us more to cover later. So,
Okay.
I do want to touch back on the OSHA thing because, from what I can tell, it doesn't look like they actually have the authority to follow through on the mandate. We've got Robert Malone.
Mandate. We gotta
that
stop there a second.
Include.
I've got to harp on this because it's important.
Go ahead, man.
The mandate business. And it's not a vaccine mandate. That is what. So both Democrats and Republicans want to call it a vaccine mandate because it gins up their bases. The Democrats want to call it a mandate so that Biden can say he accomplished his goal, and he panders to the nut jobs that want to control everybody's life down to the fucking freckle. And the Republicans want to call it a mandate so that they can rail against the man and get votes in 2022. I know it's cynical, but that's the way it is. So the OSHA emergency rule change, it is not a mandate for vaccines. It's a mandate for a type of reporting. You can either do vaccination or you can do testing. And as long as you have testing, it is not a mandate to get vaccinated. While in some situations, it'll effectively be like that. For instance, Steve's situation.
Yeah, like New York is a perfect example of where they're really going hardline on this. They're not allowing any exceptions, and where they say they are, they're finding reasons to say no.
Yeah. And again, there's also under the table kind of shit, where you'll get fired for performance issues, so you can't go back and sue them for wrongful termination. So in any event, again, mandate is a word that is being used to gin up political will in the bases right now. It is not a mandate for vaccination. It is a reporting mandate, effectively. You need to have vaccinated people, and the others that aren't vaccinated need to be tested weekly. I think that is a decent compromise when it comes to if it was just done easily. Like if everybody has easy access to testing, and I think that an OSHA rule like that should come with some kind of funding for the fucking testing. Although that'll cost 3 times more than it should at that point.
Well, it would cost less than four hundred and
Allow
fifty
market.
thousand
Yeah, full of
dollars
shit.
per illegal family, but that's another
But
issue.
just yeah, we'll get to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, like with this, as long as you allow market competition and the government isn't feeding fat checks into it, um, you'll have facile testing capacity everywhere. It'll be very simple to get. Like you can go and get tested now, pretty much everywhere. And if your company's covering it,
Oh
while
well,
that
I mean,
might eat
yeah, the
part of your
market will.
paycheck and it might raise prices, it'll at least competition among tests will bring the price down
Yeah,
to
there'll
a
be more
manageable
tests,
level.
better tests, and cheaper tests,
Like this is one
which
thing
is
that we've
what you
done well in
want.
Florida. One thing we've done very well in Florida is their vaccines are freely available, monoclonal antibodies are freely available, tests are freely available
Let me
everywhere,
pause you
all
for
over
a
the
quick
place.
second on that, actually, because there's a noteworthy statement I need to make in that. On the monoclonal antibodies, there was,
Oh,
I want to
yeah.
say this like 2, 3 weeks ago, that old Skin Suit Joe came out and was like, "You're using too many monoclonal antibodies, Ron
Oh, yeah.
DeSantis." And he was like, "I'm
He
not going to
decided to
give you
fuck
no
them all
more."
up.
And
He
so,
decided he decided to cut off Florida and then buy up the rest of the contracts from that company. And then DeSantis went to another company and just bought them there
yep,
and fucked them on that one.
yeah. So DeSantis went and, yeah, said, "All right, fine. If you're going to make life hard on Floridians, then we're just going to go and secure enough of our own." Mind you, the company that produces it was like, "Yeah, no, we can absolutely support these people and their needs. That's not a problem." But anyway, I just needed to make a point of that because I saw very little reporting on
Hmm.
it. But anyway, please
Oh,
continue.
well, on top of that, just mind you, was it nine cases per 100,000 or whatever? Uh, best in the entire fucking United States. What happened, huh?
Yeah, isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? Huh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
mandate shit. The prices. So just having this stuff freely available everywhere. Basically, the thing I was getting to in that was that we've currently got the lowest numbers, um, and we did that by making shit available to everybody who needed it, and then leaving people the fuck alone. People will make the right choice. If you back them into a corner, they might make a silly choice, in my opinion, to spite you, which I think at that point is justified.
Oh, speaking of spite, have you heard about the number one, two, and four hits on the Billboard Top Hot 100?
I don't know. I think there's some NASCAR fans out there
There are. They are.
that
They
are
there's a well, Let's Go Brandon. It's really taken off. But I
several
mean,
different releases of it, correct?
actually, there's two artists and like three mixes of one. Well, no, there's two mixes that are in the top. I think there's three artists at the one. No, there's one artist in the one, and I think four, and then two is somebody else, and then I think the same number one and four artist also has one at like number 10 or something as well. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And as much as I kind of don't support using the euphemism, it's taken off so much and has so much of kind of its own mimetic power. And fucking go for it. Let's go, Brandon.
You see, the only person I actually really feel bad for in all this is Brandon. The poor guy just won a race, and that fucking goblin decided to cheer in with the wrong shit like that, and basically make his name represent what I'm sure he wholeheartedly couldn't give less of a shit about in terms of his career. Like he won the race. That was supposed to be the point, and now he's the face of an anti-Biden meme. He may or may not agree with it. It's kind of irrelevant because I would probably also be similarly frustrated with having my name be a euphemism for fuck somebody.
Yeah, that does.
It's like anybody named John when you talk about going to the bathroom.
Yeah, true, true. There might be. Well, there might once upon a time have been this very glorious hole, and now,
I mean,
it's
Patrick
just.
Stewart. Patrick Stewart was very on point when in Men in Tights. From now on, all toilets shall be named Johns.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, I've got a really good article from Heritage actually that I'll throw in chat actually
Please
about
do.
how basically, well, Congress hasn't given OSHA any of the authority they would need to really follow through with at least half of this mandate that they've proposed. So once it hits court, provided it hits, a non-utterly biased court, it should pretty well fall apart. But I mean, how many lives have been fucked in the meantime? There's a lot of people that said no, which is the right thing to do. I mean, saying no today, it's already bad. You should have said no earlier, but it's not too late. So, say no while you can before you can't.
Yeah.
But basically,
So this OSHA thing. So the point to come back to on it is something that we discussed earlier regarding Steve and his point. We talk about us doing our own risk-based assessments. The OSHA rules are an emergency rule change in the nature that the Biden administration is basically requiring of um, the OSHA review boards. It is supposed to be met with a certain standard of evidence, and a certain standard of risk to necessitate the rule change itself. And if the risk does not exist for that rule change to be compelled, then it shouldn't happen. And I know there's legal efforts being made to make sure that it's like. So here's the thing: OSHA is very important for occupational safety. Like it is really, as much as people would want to knock it, it is actually very important. And
this trivializes OSHA.
Corrupting it for political purposes opens up a door we do not want to go down because it will result in the deaths of American workers. Period. End of conversation.
Yeah, well, we had talked about this
Matt
before.
says so,
OSHA serves a good purpose. Turning them into a political weapon is folly at minimum.
So a good example of this, EPA standards have been manipulated by activists. And we won't. So here's the problem. The main problem is that before there was manipulation that fucked with the agency. It was not a question of whether or not there was a rule change was necessary. There was the integrity of having a fact-based approach to things without an activist slant tinting the view of everything. Unfortunately, that is now a question that must be asked of the EPA because of what happened last century. So while things have not like declined into oblivion, the fact that you now have to ask whether or not there's a political appointment that was made that is governing a rule change versus an actual needs-based rule change in the EPA should tell you what's coming with the OSHA changes here. Like if a president can just order a rule change and then have it uncontested go through, rubber stamp, that's bad because then so let's say Trump was in office, and let's say for sake of suppose there's a liberal hate listening to this, or listening to it out of genuine interest. All opinions welcome. Let's say that Trump was in office and he decided that Mar-a-Lago needed to have a certain advantage over locality there in terms of scenery, and then they basically required that certain species limits were maintained for local endangerment. And if you haven't looked up local endangerment, that is a horrible thing. There's actually a Penn and Teller episode on, I think it's on the EPA, where they go through this kind of shit. Locally endangered is a shit concept that allows the government to tell you whether or not you can do something with your property, and it kills your property value. But suppose he is in charge and he tells them to raise the number that's required, and then on his property, before it goes into effect, just pushes them onto the properties adjacent to them, the endangered species or newly endangered species. Keep in mind, the local endangerment can be as simple as next door, like over on the other side of a mountain. It's not that big of an area.
All right.
So suppose he does that, and then it goes into effect. Property values around his drop, but then he has the only property that has any ability to construct things. Builds himself a couple of hotels. Doesn't matter if the regulations get stripped away later. The damage is done. The grift is over.
Oh yeah. Once you got the money, all you got to do is run.
So
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of how that works.
it's
Yeah, ye
it's
old grift.
ridiculous. Yeah.
It's always a grift. Everything is. I mean, that's what. That's what carbon credits are. Carbon offsets are just a way of taking money out of the hands of the middle class and the poor and putting them into the hands of the rich, like Al Gore. I
Yeah.
mean, he's
I mean,
tried to start up at least 3 carbon offset companies that I know of, and I think he's
yes.
started a few successfully.
He has started several successfully, and he isn't market capture, but he's a market leader in a plurality. Um, that's a good example. Solyndra under Obama. Look at his friends.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of solar
Um,
companies, there you go.
I mean, it's look at Biden and Ukraine and China and Russia and basically anybody who's going to give him just 10%.
Oh, speaking of China, I don't know if you've been following much because this one's gone a little under the radar, but they've actually had all of their coal producers, all of their mines, they're going just gangbusters, and they're actually building more coal power plants because coal's easy and it's cheap. It's not as good as nuclear, but it's cheaper and it's faster. So
Yeah.
yeah, good times. Saw a really interesting video on that from ADV China, so I'll make sure and link that for everybody to just check out later. I was actually watching that earlier, and it's a fascinating situation that's going really largely unreported.
There's a lot of those today, aren't there?
Yeah, quite a few. Let me see here. Yeah, and also they had come out because Australia had recently said, well, we're kind of curious about this. This disease thing that looks like it was tinkered with by humans, maybe. We don't know. We'd kind of like to. And China was like, you can't dare do that. We're not buying any more of your anything. Well, they are actually buying Australian coal because they fucking need it. So let me just... I'll put the link in here for you if you want to watch it later or something, because
Okay.
it's a legitimately interesting video and goes in pretty deep, because these guys are actually... They just travel around in China and... sorry. I should say they travel around a lot in West Taiwan and Taiwan. China. Excuse me. My mistake. I mean no offense to any of our Taiwanese listeners. I mean no offense at all. I hope that... I hope you scare off those jelly ass West Taiwanese that keep flying their chintzy planes at you.
Yeah, every time that happens, our tax dollars going into the
Indeed.
jet fuel required to scramble jets and chase those fuckers off.
Yeah,
They will go as deep as they are allowed into Taiwanese airspace.
they really will. They're really fucking pushing, and it's rather quite annoying. Speaking also of annoying, McDonald's has finally had to basically relent. They've raised most of their prices by about 6% because they have to offset price hikes on everything. They've got to pay more to get their product to their stores.
Oh, come on. That doesn't sound like I'm supposed to happen. This is Biden's America. Prices are supposed to go down.
Well, certain things did go down in price. I mean, not
Hey
gas
now.
or...
I saved 16 cents on average last year on July 4th. I'm sorry, this year
Yeah, I mean,
relative to last year.
not if you needed to
And
drive
look, I've
anywhere,
recently
but...
been down to the $1.65 store.
Hmm.
I know last week it was a $1.50 store, but things change.
Oh, the dollar
But it's
75
okay
store.
because inflation's good because that means I get more money in my pocket when I get a paycheck.
Oh well,
Although
I
I don't
mean,
know how that translates because
honestly,
my
it's your
paycheck hasn't
fault.
increased at all. My
It's
paycheck hasn't changed at all, regardless of how much inflation's
well, yeah, but
happened.
you're
And
going out and shopping with all that money you're making, so
oh
you're
yeah,
raising the
that's right.
prices. So hey, could you maybe like stop raising the prices a
Oh,
little?
that's true. Yeah, I
Like,
forgot that market commerce is bad in a capitalist society.
yeah, thanks, Craig. You're raising the price for all of us by going out here and shopping. Thanks. Because of you, we're not going to be able to get our Christmas unless we've ordered it in the last 3 days.
Oh, speaking of Christmas, that was saved recently by
oh,
that was saved recently by DeSanta.
oh, okay. Go on. Go on.
You haven't heard of DeSanta Claus? The best part is that video got fucking fact checked by the AP or whatever because you know he's not really saving Christmas. What the fuck?
Oh, jeez.
This is the shit you're not fact checking other shit where they're like saying it's a bad thing that DeSantis opened up Florida ports and suddenly shit can move through them. People are saying, well, where's the proof? It's like, okay, well, there was what, like 1,000 containers that went through
Well, wait about
jacks,
a damn
and like
month,
seven.
and you'll see.
I think it was like 1,000 containers that went. They're doing 1,000 containers a week in Jacks at Jacksport, and then Miami Port, they're doing like 7,000 containers a week.
Oh shit, they're
Uh,
probably well deregulated too. So like owner operators
oh
and
yeah.
just whoever can come and go, right?
So a little bit of inside baseball in my industry. The ANTEC conference, the annual National Society of Plastics Engineers ANTEC conference, the NPE conference, that got moved from Chicago down to Orlando because the
Really?
Chicago unions decided they were going to be pricks. And there's only a few places in the country that can handle the kind of raw amperage you need to run equipment like that for a trade show, like an
True.
international scale trade show that fills up all the buildings in a complex
Oh
with
yeah,
equipment
true. That's
that's
going to be
running all at the same
lots and
time.
lots of like multi-phase units
That's
too.
out of raw power, you need a shit ton of it. So Chicago is one of the few places in the country that can do it, and they knew it until all of a sudden they weren't the ones that were good enough. And then they got real pissed off, and basically it was, oh well, what about the unions? It's like, well, that's why we're moving. It started off during
Well,
the
never
union
mind. They probably
dispute
don't
as
like getting
being
shot at either. You know.
well as well, it's
I mean, we are
you
talking
have a
about
decent amount
Chirac
of
here.
security there. So the funny thing is, it started off during the dispute with them doing two conferences down in Orlando, and then planning to do the next conference in Chicago, and then every other year back and forth to see if they could settle things. And then basically the trade dispute fell apart.
What, the
So
unions just
Chicago
got more
got
shitty about it?
so they got fucking nothing.
Youch.
That's what happens when you price yourself out of the market. You lose. So again, Florida right now is getting the traffic that Chicago. It's not Chicago. Same shit, different day. That New York and New York City and L.A. are expecting, or New York State and California. Right now, Florida is getting a lot of that traffic because a week through Panama Canal is a lot shorter than never reaching land for weeks over on the coast.
Oh yeah, and never mind. See, the other part of this too is those ships and those containers. Every day they sit not delivering those goods is a day that they're not going back somewhere else with more goods loaded back in that
Yeah,
same container for the
it's a
destination from which
massive
they came. Like
it's a
everything is
massive
a
price.
fucking logjam.
Here's another thing. It's a massive price hike on your goods and services. It's a massive drain on a company's ability to keep products, let alone make profit to get more products. And also keep in mind that these containers are rented often. So every day it sits on that ship, the company isn't just losing sales, they're losing money for the rent on the product. If the product's perishable, they're losing product period that they've already paid for. It's really bad to have your stuff stuck on a ship like that. It's insanely bad to have your stuff stuck out at sea like that. It's and here's another thing. There's a recent acquisition, I think it was of a Swedish company. and I think China now owns like 97% or
I
95,
was
whatever the hell it
just
is. It's in
about
the
to bring
90s.
that up, actually. Yeah, China
Okay, yeah,
just bought Maersk.
yeah. So they own like so this is so these are the people that make the containers that are then rented out for use on these transport ships. They own a global monopoly, like a obvious factual global monopoly. There is no there's no so you have the World Trade Organization, but it's not going to do shit. It's owned by China to start off with because the UN, and then worse over, it's anything they say, China can just say, "Oh, we're not going to trade with them." We don't have a person in office who's willing to stand up to China and tell them to go fuck themselves, and then come back in the next day and shake their hand. We needed that. We needed a person who was doing business deals like that, and it was, we should be honest here. It was definitely not helping our economy in the short term, but in the long term, it was doing well. China basically knew that all they had to do was wait out Trump and then make sure he was a one-term president with their own help. However that much that was involved in the process, let alone that Biden is the most popular president in U.S. history.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
He certainly received more than 59 million votes. That's something
oh
we all
yes.
can agree on. Sorry, still got a little
So
bit of coffee in my
so
throat there.
so Biden is not standing up to China. He's not going to be able. He doesn't have a leg to stand, especially that acquisition. He doesn't really have a leg to stand on. And the thing is, it's not going to hit us immediately. Although those companies can also just if especially the rent companies are Chinese owned, they can just stop renting to ships that do transit with the United States or just hike the cost to recoup the losses from the trade deficit switch around. But that switch around being one that's already failing because it's supposed to happen soon. Wasn't It didn't happen under Trump. It was supposed to happen in the near future, and Biden will probably fuck it up, which is not good. So if they own the containers, they own the rental companies, and then watch, they're going to be going after the ships next.
Indeed, they will.
That's
And
no
we don't
good.
really build ships here in the States. We build the
We
only
design them,
yeah, we do.
sure, but we don't build them.
The only ships we build here are warships. And even
So
then, that's not even we don't build all of them here.
we don't need to have like a we don't need to turn it into a society of termites here. We don't need to like have your assigned role and fill it in terms of a production economy,
I
because
mean,
we largely switched to a service economy, and we can go back to a production economy locally at least. I mean, we're doing that. Silicon fabs trying to get out of Taiwan. Essential goods and services are going to have to come back, and I mean they are coming back to a certain extent already. We need to do more of that. Ships are just a natural extension of that. China has been hulking out with their navy. They are building a war force right now. Like no joke, they are preparing to take Taiwan, and the United States is not next to Taiwan. We're on the other side of the fucking Pacific. I mean, the closest we are is like a little under halfway there with Hawaii. We're not going to be able to scramble to save Taiwan. We have troops there, which Taiwan recently just admitted for the first time ever.
yeah, that did
We have
just come out.
so well, we've had troops there for a long time, and in the last few years, we've been ramping up efforts to basically train Taiwan to defend itself against a land incursion from sea. And while that is paying dividends in their national defense, um,
Well, I mean, I guess there's Malta, but that's not.
the eh, well, so we have Okinawa. We have our Japanese installations, but at the same time, like we don't have the force over there to show up. So here's the thing with the Chinese Navy: they don't need to be good. They're producing so many boats. All they have to do is occupy space, and we can't get in. Like think about that. All they have to do is surround the island with several layers of boats, and they are getting to the point where they're going to be able to do something like that.
Well, I mean,
Doesn't
case
matter
in
if we can
point,
sink them and
your
if
your
we can
your
punch a hole, but
perfect case example for that is we can look at what happened at the Panama Canal just a few months back when one ship fucked everything up for
Yeah.
what
So
I want to
it's a
say
bit of the inverse.
5 days.
It's a bit of an inverse problem where, but it's I mean it's the same result where
But I
they
mean
will be able to clog
that
the waterway. But
that
like
gives you an ability that gives the ordinary person the ability to truly understand exactly what the
sure,
implications of something like this are and how easy it would be to do. That's one ship, and they've got an armada, or are working on one at
so
least.
the Chinese Navy is used also as a colloquial term for the civilian fisher vessels because they are used. We covered this already. They're used as CCP spy ships essentially. But think of it like this: if you surrounded Taiwan with a bunch of fisher vessels, and then you also put a bunch of military vessels in the area, and then you just blockaded Taiwan in that way, and then the United States came in and decided to make an entrance to allow Taiwan to do commerce with other countries, say the Philippines, etc. They would take any hair trigger as an act of war. They would probably, of course, tell the United States this is what they're going to do, and that would, be fair enough on their end. But they would probably just be waiting for the U.S. to fuck up, and then they would immediately crush whatever is there to the best of their ability. The U.S. might limp away from it, but then we've got to answer back to that, and we're on the other side of the ocean. If we pull assets from Japan down, and we pull assets from the area around there, and we pull in to try and take it back, we just don't have enough.
Yeah, I
Like
mean
we
to be
we
fully
can
honest,
do
to
air
deal with the problem there, we need a
like
global reply.
here's the thing: is it's not that we couldn't get the job done; it's that we'd be far enough away where it would take hours, like hours to days instead of
And
like
this is, of
minutes
course,
to hours.
presuming we don't have someone like General Milley on top of them that have turned
You're
it
right.
all into a bunch of fucking mush-brained losers.
So like
Which
the
we have
point here is
some
that we would
distressing
need
evidence that might be the case. What with the crash that
yeah.
just recently happened. But anyway,
The point here is that like the ideal response to something like that is on the order of minutes to hours, not hours to days.
oh yeah,
And we
no,
don't
that
have we the best we have is air support where we would send in a missile strike or planes from across the ocean. That still takes a long time to get over to China, to get over to Taiwan. It still takes quite a while to fly, even if you're in a fighter jet. Yeah, it's still hours. If your response time is hours, hours count for a fuck lot of time on the ground. So if they take an
Well, think
attack
about
as
it this
carte
way.
blanche
Think
to a
about it
land
this way.
invasion,
The way that it is when you need a police officer at your home, you can call
yeah,
911, but by the time they get there, if there's somebody already inside the house, it's real likely to be too late. So, when
yeah, they're
think
there
about
to
it this
clean
way,
up
when
tricks.
seconds count, the police are minutes away. Well, when minutes count, your NATO allies are hours away.
No, so
And your UN
they,
allies are days away.
yeah, right. Your UN allies are fucking years away,
Yeah, also that.
or they're speaking Mandarin.
Also,
What was that noise? Thanks, Neo
I see
Sweden.
nothing. Nothing.
I see nothing. I hear nothing. I know nothing. Thanks, Colonel. Yeah. Like the Taiwanese need our help in this sense. We've been giving it to them, but the Taiwanese president has, for the first time, to my knowledge, uh, admitted that the United States military assets are there and helping them.
And the Global
And
Times
basically,
threw
this
a
isn't.
fucking shit fit, just to make a note of that.
Yeah. So this was basically Taiwan's answer to a lot of the crap that's been thrown at them from China recently, basically telling Taiwanese the U.S. can't save you. And the Taiwanese basically just said the U.S. is already here. Um, so again, like basically to prevent a skirmish from turning into an all-out war, the idea here is that the hours count on the ground because if there is a skirmish like that it involves civilians and the Chinese can take advantage of it, what they will do is claim that they are defending mainland China, which they think includes Taiwan, by invading Taiwan with their military to repel the United States instead of to conquer the Taiwanese. least that's the way it'll be billed to the world. So if that happens, the U.S. loses that chance to quickly end a skirmish and abate an all-out war. If we're even going to end up sinking our resources into an all-out war, we don't know how Biden would react to that.
Well, there's that's a good one. That's a good one
Let me
because actually
rephrase
a
this.
few days
Let me
ago,
rephrase this. We don't know how Congress would react to that.
that's right.
Considering after 60 days they have to approve it.
Well, we have Biden's initial reply when he was asked. He said, "Well, of course I would defend Taiwan," and then we have Jen Psaki say, "Whoa, wait, hold on now. We
Oh,
did
we'll
not.
defend
I
Taiwan.
don't know if we would defend Taiwan."
Well, I have a feeling that the intimation for Taiwan is going to be significantly different between people when it comes to Biden saying we'll defend China. Sorry, Taiwan.
Yeah, no corrections necessary there.
Right. It's like Biden saying, "Oh, we'll defend Xinjiang."
Yeah, well, I mean, just like the movie Mulan, we got to thank those helpful Uyghurs. We really do. They do so much for so many, and they ask so little, and they're given even less. You know, but there you go. There you go. So everybody remember, say goodnight to your Pooh Bear, and that Tibet is a free region. Uh,
Yeah.
Let me see here.
The
What's
Dalai
another good
Lama
one?
being a grifting piece of shit, but that's for a different day.
Which one?
That guy makes that guy that guy makes more money outside the country than his country will ever see inside of it.
Probably true. But he does say some cool and fun stuff.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, that's the the one-liners are all great and all until he decides to start preaching about morals, and then you just have to think, well, you're here living the luxurious lifestyle that you claim you should eschew, and what's happening at home, buddy?
Yeah, yeah. Tibet
That terminal struggle
has a kind of an
is
issue, and Oh,
like, I'm
on
not
that note,
saying that
though,
Tibet should go to
I
war.
do have to say though, I am. Oh man, what was the guy's name? Was it Kyrie Irving's the one that said no to the vaccine mandates, which is amazing. But who's the other guy that's recently talked out against Nike and fucking China?
Oh God, that one the basketball guy, right? The that tweet that went out basically telling what's his face, the Chinese lapdog
Enes
to
Can- Enes Cantor.
yeah, that was a fucking brilliant tweet.
Yeah, bravo, sir. He's actually talking out about this, and he's doubled down. He's gone hard, and I mean, bravo, sir. I'm glad somebody in your fucking organization finally has the stones to say the fucking truth and speak truth to power.
Yeah, that's an actual instance of that too. Whereas before it was just kind of pandering, wasn't it? I'm
And
speaking my truth to power. Okay, Bell.
and that being said, you can no longer find Boston Celtics on NBA broadcasts in China.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, fuck them, honestly.
Here's the worst part. Like in my field, you meet enough Chinese people. They're the vast majority are good, decent people. Some of them are political assets. That's very actually remarkably few, given the nature of power that they'd be able to get access to when it comes to just being in engineering or in STEM in general. The worst thing about this kind of stuff is I feel bad for the people that I know that they're not like particularly like heavily invested in China, but they have affection for home, and I can appreciate that. People generally understand the difference between China and the Chinese government. When people refer to China, they're usually talking about the government, not the people, when it comes to this kind of shit. And it must wear on them to a degree. But then again, there's also the people that come over here. Like, basically, what I'm saying here, as far as fuck China, is we should be getting every goddamn one of the people that is willing to come over here to make our country better out of there now and convincing them to stay here and to want to stay here, but without saying things like, "Oh, well, you don't need to worry about your family anyway." And you have to find a better way to sell it to them, I think.
You know what? I've got a better idea. There's a lot of Chinese already going to Canada. Why don't we just annex Canada? and we can move them all up. They're already moving to like Quebec
Oh,
and
come on.
everything
You know where
anyway.
this joke goes. You know where this joke goes, and then we can have them all work in one of the regions, maybe Alberta. We can have them all work there and make iPhones and oh, but that has a fun ending.
What? No, 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 not like that. No, I mean
I mean, we're
The
talking about
Canadians are
Kazakhstan, man.
already
We're
exactly.
talking about Kazakhstan.
Exactly. See, I mean, anything that happens to those people is going to be a better fate than what they're currently enduring. So, I mean, I'm talking about going in there like an avenging angel to free them from the clutches of their, Justin Castro.
This is going darker and darker.
What? The Canadian people deserve a better fate than what they're dealing with
No,
now.
what they deserve is a better version of blackface. They should go with they should, they should go with the K-pop version instead of the My Pops version.
That aside, though, if there are any Canuckistanis that are listening to us, you really do have my condolences. And if there's anything that we can
Yeah.
do to help get out the word on Maxime Bernier, please let us know. I mean, the guy's actually pretty decent, and
I
he
mean, he
wants a
has
better
zero
future
endorsements so far.
for Canuckistan. He actually wants Canuckistan to be Canada, and wow, I mean that's something. I mean, I've not seen a Canada since I was a young boy,
I mean,
and
I would need to get have this guy on here so we can see his face as I call him Game Awards to make sure that he actually does have the stones to take over a country.
well, in so much as any Canadian has the stones to take over a country, I mean, we are talking about
Hey,
Canadians
come
here.
on, Trudork did it.
Yeah, but he kind of, smooth talked his way in there.
He might have been grandfathered in.
That's
It's fine.
possible. And I imagine there were probably a couple of handies here and there, too, just to, sweeten the deal.
Well, basically it's the same reason that Cuomo stayed in such good graces after killing 15,000 people. It's because all the women wanted to shag him for being that charismatic dipshit in charge,
Oh, it is a funny thing you mentioned Cuomo. I was kind of wanting to hold
isn't it?
off on this, but, since we're coming up to the end of the night, and I like to finish on a happy news piece, it's sad that our man Steve isn't going to be here for this, because I know
Oh, well,
it's
you
got to
gotta give him
bring
the
him
handy next time.
joy. But, well, it seems that Mr. Cuomo, he's going to be facing some charges. He's,
Oh no,
yeah.
Androth Cuomo is gonna be faced in the Hague, is he?
Sadly, no. Sadly, no. He basically
You
just got
know
a little
why?
bit
You know
handsy.
why? And because fuck the Hague. Just
Uh,
please tell me you've watched Expendables 3 because I love that fucking line.
I haven't watched any of them. That's
Oh, you
kind
are
of
missing out.
it's media, so it's not worth the risk of watching it.
It is it is 90s action on film because it's Stallone films.
Eh, I
If you ever get a chance to watch it for free, whichever way you do that, you should definitely watch all three of them. They are good.
I doubt that, but maybe. I I
Look,
I don't want to
when I
give
say they're
Hollywood the
good,
idea that I support
when I say
anything they
they're
do.
good, I'm not. When I say they're good, I'm not saying that they're going to like change your life or they've got some greater, deeper mystery to them. I'm saying they are 2 hours of popcorn movie that you should get your ass in a seat for because they're good.
Well, I'll tell you what. If I need to figure out something for a date night or something, I'll put that on the menu then.
There you go.
Well, so anyway, they're expecting that Cuomo is going to be arrested either end of this week or beginning of next or sometime next week.
You know what?
So
I hope CNN is there at 6 a.m. in the morning with a tip off. Oh, I was just in the area to be able to watch it all go down.
yeah, just curiously enough. So it's really kind of nothing. It's a misdemeanor charge, carries a maximum sentence of a year in jail, which he's not going to see a day of jail time. But they're going hard. Basically, they're saying the girl's going full in. She said, "Yeah, no, he slipped his hand up my dress, gave me the full grope, and That was not cool. And it's probably not the first time, let's be honest, but more often than not, it probably just nobody's going to do anything or say anything about it. So finally, one of these assholes is getting something that was long headed their way.
I've got a comment that I actually threw into a DM group over that.
I do
But
tell.
at least the woman he touched, no, just how many dead people the news are willing to sweep under a rug for a chance to fondle them.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh, speaking of sweeping dead people under the rug,
Uh-huh.
things are getting complicated with Alec Baldwin and Rust. There's not a lot to really update other than that was a real gun, was a live bullet, and same gun was
Oh,
used for target shooting on the set, and there were also at least 2 other negligent discharges on same set.
so also in addition to this, I would recommend people go and watch the 2 quartering videos on this. There's one from today and one from 2 days ago, regarding the weapons master on set. Some 24-year-old woman with some disaster going on in her head, the hair part. The inside of her skull, probably that too. But
Maybe, maybe not. She's actually
she,
apparently the daughter of an actually renowned weapons guy in
yeah,
Hollywood,
that's all
but
well and good, all well and good. But
the apple
clearly, she
doesn't
wasn't well
always fall,
trained.
close to the tree
She wasn't well
either.
trained. If there was live ammo on set anywhere, which there was, she says there wasn't, and
Yeah.
B, she's lying to the police. And what it looks like probably happened is she probably did not check the chamber when swapping mags.
Well, I
That's
think this was
probably
a
what happened.
revolver,
Or, oh, all right, well then,
which is
just
even
saying, like
worse. But
that's
yeah,
definitely worse. Like
yeah, that's
at
like a
that
lot
point, you
worse.
have no fucking. So I wasn't like paying attention close enough to find out what kind of gun it was. But if it was a fucking revolver,
Yeah, yeah, cowboy style.
oh god, there's no like
Yeah,
they
you
all
can
pop out at
see,
once.
you can look at them and see that they're there. Now, that being said, they do have dummy rounds. But the thing about
Right?
those is you can look at the back and they don't have a primer. The primer pocket is
Yes.
empty.
Right. Oh
So,
god.
yeah.
Oh,
And
she's dumber than I thought.
well, basically there are layers upon layers that are in place
Oh,
to
there.
avoid something like this happening.
So
So that this
here's what it looks
happened,
like. The police say that she lied at this point.
yeah.
She's basically admitted that she lied in a relief tweet on Twitter. Sorry, relief post on Twitter. And it's there's no charges mentioned yet coming her way, but what I my guess is that both her and Alec are probably going to end up with third degree charge thrown at them.
I think
Just a
Alex
man's.
going they're already pulling defense for Alec. They already are. And you can see it cuz we had an initial story that was very different that has been
Like,
utterly buried
here's the thing
because
with Alec, like if he got a weapon that
oh, he's a
he
producer,
is
so he's responsible for this
he's
directly.
responsible. But like I'm just saying though, when it comes down to like third degree versus accidental death and thus property liability or whatever, basically actuarial injury instead of other kind of criminal negligence. Like it with his position, like he is legally responsible in all and morally so. But he had in his hands a weapon that he didn't think was loaded. Period, because it was supposed to be not loaded via the weapons master's word.
Oh yeah.
So when it comes like just it'll depend pretty heavily on how on whose story that the jury thinks is more pathetic or whose story I mean the grand jury um, thinks is more pathetic when it comes to the kind of indictments they'll permit based on evidence. Like the evidence is that these 2 people fucked up, and it's definitely on both of them.
Well, more too.
Yeah,
The assistant director on set should have checked as
there's
well.
yeah.
So it was a cascade of complete failures, not even partial failures, because if there were innumerable opportunities for this to have been stopped. and everything went wrong, as it were. Interesting fact, this lady's husband works for a Clinton law firm. So, I mean, that family, you don't even have to know anything that gets that'll result in a Clinton going to jail, and you can end up dead. I'm telling you what, you just stay away from the Clintons. Just stay away. Oh, but on that note, before we cut out here, Sheila Jackson Lee, she's like the rep from
Oh God,
fucking Texas.
she's the Florida rep with the fucking hat on, isn't she?
No, she's from Texas.
All right, well, whichever state she's from, she wears that stupid fucking hat.
I believe so.
I mean,
Well, anyway,
it's okay. So it's not as stupid, but like at the same time, with the amount of stupid coming from underneath it, like it's a stupid fucking hat.
Oh yeah. Well, any pet she's going to wear is going to be stupid because she's wearing it. But that being said, she's talking about introducing new legislation to make sure that this never happens again. And it's like, you stupid fucking idiot. They didn't follow not a single one of all the myriad safety rules that exist to avoid this happening. And you're saying, well, we need to add another page of rules. You dumb bitch. What the fuck is another page of rules going to do? Is that the same as putting up a gun-free zone sign on a Colorado theater?
Boy.
I mean...
Yeah, that kind of shit is not going to apply in this kind of case.
Like you stupid fucking idiot. How many lives are you going to save by putting up... I know! We'll put up death-free zone signs. Problem fucking solved. We'll magic it away with the death-free zone signs, right? Boom, problem solved. I fixed it all. Now we're all immortal too. We just put up... I'm going to get a death-free zone sign for my house. I'm just going to hang out here so that I never die. So anyway,
yeah, she's just a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to end on a happy note. Oh, I will end on a happy note. My
happy
art
note.
is actually kind of selling and reselling, so you can check me out on High Set Nunts. I've got stuff there. One of my pieces that's been finished out, somebody's already put up for 5 Tez, which Tez is going for like $6 and change a coin now. So that's pretty fucking dope. That's like 30 some bucks for one of my pieces. I'm super happy about that. Hell yeah.
Are you getting any of that back?
I'd have to check the specific piece, but I think I've got it set for a 13% commission or 13% royalty.
Damn.
So yeah, actually, and that goes on down the line. Yeah. So there we go. A little bit of happy news, and with that too, people are starting to learn about NFTs and all that. So
there's a lot of smooth brain takes on NFTs, which are hilarious.
Well, you can just right-click on it and save as.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could also just, like, read up what the fucking NFT is and then go figure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to right-click on it, save as. I'm going to make my own NFT. You do that. You do that.
I mean, see how well it sells.
Yeah. Godspeed.
The worst part is, that's definitely going to happen to a couple artists, and their shit's going to sell so much better because someone else will put in the time and effort to market it properly.
Oh, yeah, but now a wily artist could take that momentum and completely steal it.
Oh, yeah.
If it's a wily artist.
I'm actually the guy. Look at the blockchain. Mine came first. Here I am. Come buy my shit.
Speaking of wily artists, there's a really interesting guy that I know. I would go so far as acquaintance. I'd like to say friend, but I don't know. We're that close. Mm-hmm. But I would say everybody check out GloomTube at GloomTube at Gloom_tube on Twitter. He does really cool art, and he's a nice guy. And if you're in the NFT scene, he'll just kind of help you out if you need a hand to understand things. So there we go. We've ended on a happy note. So that's pretty dope. And gonna see about maybe putting together maybe another shortish show later on in the week. We'll see what happens. So
yep.
I'm Evan at That Fake Guy Dan everywhere except the Home of Robot Lizards Facebook, so you won't find me there, or Meta on the Metaverse. But, look me up anywhere if you got any questions for me about the show, about my art, whatever. Hit me up on Twitter because I'm there all the time, or any of the major alt medias, or YouTube for that matter, I guess. I answer all my comments. You want to shill any cool stuff there, Craig, before I sign us off for the night?
Oh. And I'm Craig. You can find me at CraigBob99 at most places, except for a select few, which will be obvious when they show up. I have a link tree. You can find me the link tree here. I'll send it to you. There's that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show links for everybody.
Yeah, so that has most of my links where you'll end up being able to find me. I'm sure there's a bunch I'm missing, but I'm trying to add them in. I do try to make rounds during the week, but I don't always get there on alt social media platforms like Minds and Gab. Gab, I'm spending less and less time on. But you can usually find me shit posting on Twitter quite too frequently.
Yeah, probably too much myself.
But I'm on there a lot. So if you can always hit me up, talk with Evan frequently enough. So comments, concerns in the show are always welcome. Or just chit chat. We're little peoples like everybody else.
Yeah, and if you'd like to get involved with the show at all, or just chat with us, we've got a Discord. Love to have you on board. Hit us up. Either one of us will be more than happy to get you a link.
And please, by all means, if you have like a topic that's piqued your interest and you think would be interesting to hear our comments on, share them with us, and we'll toss it into our. We have a channel on our Discord called Show Ideas. That's basically a info dump for us to pick through. Usually populated by Evan, but people from inside the Discord also chip things in on occasion. So that's a fantastic place to put ideas in. I guess you still have it to where it's basically invite only for the Discord. So we have to hand them out, or there's some exchange there.
Yeah, but I would love for any listener.
You're the one who
to come
generates
join
it,
us.
basically. Yeah. All right.
And with that, we'll sign off, and I'll just leave you all with one very interesting and burning question to consider: who is Ray Epps? Let us ponder. Let us ponder. Let that question glow in your mind until we talk again.
I've got to say it. So, the media is trying to make may have been into was, and that kind of attention also glows quite brightly, like a very bright hotel sign.
Glowing so bright you gotta wear shades. All right, folks, be
before
safe.
We get free marketing.
Oh yeah.
Yes, please.
Be safe out there, folks. Keep yourself safe. Look out for glow ops of the rainbow variety, and of course, keep your powder dry. We'll talk to you again real soon.